What is going on, Deep Thread Sports Network? Bryant here, stepping in for Colin tonight on the NCAA basketball show. As always, we got Garrett here, one of our good analysts here on the college basketball podcast here for Deep Thread Sports Network. We are going to dive into the Sweet 16 this week a little bit and possibly a little bit of the Elite Eight. But first, we're going to do a little bit of a recap on what went down in the round of 64 and the round of 32. We're not going to go into depth of much. We're just going to go with some games we thought were upsets, really, honestly. We have four games on the slate here talking about upsets from the first two rounds. Honestly, there really wasn't many upsets, a lot less than there typically is. So, Garrett, any words to start off the podcast?
Dude, what a great 4 days of college basketball. I mean, if you can't get yourself a little bit hyped for that tournament, I don't know. I don't understand what you enjoy to watch because those are some of the four best days you will have in all of sports. But, and this tournament in particular, you kind of already mentioned it. There weren't a ton of upsets. And is it because of NIL? Is it because of the transfer portal? Who knows? This could just be a 1 year thing. But man, what a great 4 days regardless.
I think the Thursday and Friday of the round of 64 is up there with some of the best sports days all calendar year. I definitely agree with you there. And on the other point, with there not being much upsets, I was kind of in the same boat when I was making my bracket. I feel like this could go really chalky, and it kind of did, where you got 1, 2, and 3, and 4 seeds winning the games, and not higher seeds winning them. So we'll definitely see what happens coming through in the next two rounds. But it's definitely been a pretty straightforward tournament as far as upsets were concerned. But the four we're going to talk about today, let's start with the first one. Drake beat Missouri 67 to 50, 67 to 57. I watched this game from start to finish, very upset, being a Mizzou season ticket holder for basketball and a big Missouri fan. But, Drake absolutely won this game and Mizzou actually lost this game. Mizzou was 23 of 57 of their points from the free throw line, which is good if you can play on other aspects of the game, which they did not. 25% from three, you're not going to win many games in the NCAA tournament shooting that percentage from the 3-point line.
Brian, I'm there with you. And I'm going to try really, really hard not to offend you with some of these statements. But this is Mizzou. I mean, this is Mizzou athletics. They looked borderline unbeatable in half their games this season. Really thinking maybe this is the year this Mizzou team can make a run. They're guard heavy. Everybody believes in this coaching staff. If they come out and they lay a big fat egg against a team they need to beat. I understand Drake is a good basketball team. You are the Missouri Tigers. You're an SEC basketball team. Handle your business in this game. But I tell you what, two words, one name, and it's Bennett Sturts. That guy is a baller. Played all 40 minutes of this game. And Bryant, you already touched on the shooting issues Mizzou had. The one thing that I have mentioned before about this Mizzou team that worried me a little bit, and it ended up biting them in the butt a little bit. I know they went to the free throw line a ton. Colin, I'm so used to saying Colin. Bryant, 23 of their 57 points, as you alluded to, from the free throw line. You have got to have a better shooting performance from the floor in these games. Mizzou has always been a team this year that takes and makes a lot of free throws. Not a recipe for success in this tournament, in my opinion.
No, unless like I mentioned earlier, unless you're performing better in other aspects of the floor, such as 3 points being fallen, you're defending and getting turnovers and steals and transition points. We weren't doing any of that. The only thing we were doing good was getting to the line. The things that we did okay and or maybe bad all season came to fruition in this game. The lack of rebounding, getting stretched out on the defensive side of the ball, definitely bit us in the butt, and it showed with a 10-point loss. Seems like the Mizzou's apex of the season was beating Alabama, and then ever since then they kind of forgot how to play basketball. But we'll see what happens. I've actually heard some good things about players returning and not going to the portal, so we'll see if we can reload for next season. And a lot of the players, the coach already left Drake, and Bennett Sturts is already heading to Iowa, so that's a story for another day. So Colin, I called you Colin. Garrett, what's our second upset we're going to talk about?
We're looking at McNeese and Clemson. Obviously, this game, the final score, McNeese 69, Clemson 67. In my opinion, Brian, I'll handle this one first. In my opinion, obviously the final score made this game look a hell of a lot closer than this game was. This was a blowout for really 38 minutes. I mean, this wasn't even a competitive ball game in the first half. Clemson looked 100% overmatched. I thought they looked weak. I thought they looked soft. I thought their offense was stale. This team got held to 13 points in the first half.
It's insane.
13 points. Now I understand they scored 54 or however many it was in the second half, but you can't expect to even be competitive in a basketball game if offensively you're going to come out of the gates like that. Really bad performance, but a lot of credit to McNeese and what Will Wade did to that program while he was there. They looked like a great basketball team for a full game against Clemson.
Yeah, Will Wade has always been a great coach, and it showed in this game. Last season, McNeese was just as good, if not better, than this team that played Clemson this season. But they just kind of looked lost in the tournament. And I think this year he had them much more prepared. They were a very long and athletic team for being a mid-major. They were kind of fun to watch. Granted, I think Clemson definitely lost this game, didn't do what they've been doing well all season whatsoever. And you can't score 13 points in one half and expect to win the basketball game. But I definitely agree with you. I think this game was a lot closer, or wasn't as close as it seems on the scoreboard at the end. Credit to McNeese getting, it might have been their first, it might have been their second win ever in March Madness. So kudos to them. But similar to the last Drake team, their head coach is already gone for next season. So we'll see what they can rebound and do in the future with that McNeese program. Next game we're going to talk about was Colorado State at Memphis, or Colorado State beating Memphis 78-70 in the first round. This was a pretty good game, and Colorado State almost made it to the Sweet 16 to where we talk about them here. Very, very experienced team, great coach. They looked the part. They played well on offense. They're very good at rebounding the basketball. But I definitely think Memphis, Tyrese Hunter and PJ Haggerty not playing that well kind of hurt them, and it definitely showed in this game.
Yeah, I would talk more about Colorado State because this is a team, you had four guys scoring double digits in this game. Really, this is the epitome of a balanced attack. Really well-coached team. All good things to say about them. But my mind cannot get away from watching PJ Haggerty continuously take horrible, horrible shots. He single-handedly, by himself, lost Memphis' basketball game. You have to understand – I understand he's a star player, but you've got to have a somewhat of an understanding to understand it's not my night. And God damn it, it was not his night. He missed 16 shots in a row to close the game out. I mean, he single-handedly cost Memphis a chance to advance to round of 32. And I'm a firm believer. I still think this Memphis team was maybe the second best team in this region had they gotten through Colorado State and PJ Haggerty played just a touch like himself and had just a little bit of an understanding that when it's not your night, shut it down.
Absolutely agree. I was in the same boat with you. I thought Memphis was a very underrated team as far as seeding and what people were thinking about them moving forward in this region. I thought they leaned on Danger a little bit too much, and that kind of showed down the stretch. He was getting pretty tired and beat up and was not himself, that big man in the middle that was been strong for them all season. It was a tough loss for them, but I think you got to give credit to Colorado State as well for stopping Memphis's strengths, and it showed in this game. I want to give a shout out to one player in Colorado State. I think here's a chance he possibly can maybe play the next level. Sean Clifford, that dude is an extremely good athlete, can score at every level, defend, basically do it all. He's a well-rounded player. If you don't know him, go watch some of the highlights from this game and their third round of 32 game. He was the best player on the floor in both games. So credit to him. Good run for Colorado State, but definitely an upset here as we thought Memphis was a lot better team in this matchup. What's the last upset we're going to talk about here, Garrett?
Some may say this isn't an upset. In my opinion, really isn't. I had New Mexico, even though my bracket is horrible.
Mine too.
New Mexico beating Marquette, but some would say it's an upset. And the thing I have to just go back on, and Colin and I hit on this every single podcast, is that Shaka Smart can't win these big games in March. He has never proven, no matter where he is, besides that one magical run he had with VCU, he has not proven he can win these meaningful games in March. And once again, I thought even though New Mexico, with Donovan Dent and Nelly Jr. Joseph, two outstanding basketball players, they are not near as athletic nor as good as the entire roster of Marquette. This is a game you just can't afford to lose if you're going to be one of these perennial coaches in college basketball, and he can't find a way to win them year in and year out.
That's exactly what I was going to say in this game. Is it seems like Shaka Smart keeps tricking everybody into picking the team he's the coach for to go a long way. And like you mentioned, besides that one VCU run many years back, he couldn't do it. After that, VCU went to the March Madness a couple times after that, and they lost. Texas couldn't get it done. Now here at Marquette has great teams throughout the regular season consistently, but cannot get it done in March when it happens. It seems like, especially in this game, his teams always come unprepared and his big time players just do not show up. Definitely showed in this game for sure. New Mexico 75, Marquette 66. Like you mentioned, not really a big upset as far as seeding was concerned, but Marquette. This similar to the Mizzou story. This is a game that they should win every season, at least in the first round of the tournament, and they simply could not get it done. So those were the upsets we thought were the bigger upsets of the first two rounds. Like I mentioned earlier, not a whole lot there. So we're going to move on and talk about the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. First, we're going to kind of peruse through the 16 teams remaining when play starts this Thursday and Friday, and then go from there. So, first team we're going to talk about is the Arkansas Razorbacks, coached by John Calipari. They're the 10 seed in the West region. They beat Kansas in the first round and St. John's in the second round. Two impressive wins.
Incredible wins. I mean, I understand. I really had them winning that game against Kansas. I thought Arkansas as a whole far more athletic than Kansas. I thought as far as shooting the basketball, probably a little bit better. Head coach, which way you want to lean? You want to go Bill Self or Cal Perry? Obviously, Bill Self has probably proven himself more in March, but incredible run. And it's amazing to me how Boogie Fland, not playing for this long, plays as many minutes in both these games and has the impact on this team that he had in the first two games. I didn't know how well they would gel together. I thought maybe Boogie would kind of throw off a little bit of rhythm. But man, they look awesome. This Arkansas team is humming. I would love to hear Colin's opinion on the Arkansas St. John's game, but we're going to have to wait for another episode because I'm sure he has something to say with those being two of the teams he rode all year long.
Absolutely, that's tough for from Colin's standpoint, but credit to Arkansas. Beat two coaches in Bill Self and Rick Pitino, two seeds that were ranked much higher than them in this field. And Arkansas is kind of getting healthy at the right time. I agree with you. I didn't think Flam was going to play as much as he has, but he's playing double the minutes that I thought he was in those first two games. And now they might possibly get Tiero back for this round of 16. That's going to be huge because he's probably their second best player behind Fland. But credit to them, Jonas Adu's played outstanding in the past 4 or 5 games, and Trayvon Brazil stepped up when needed. Arkansas only runs 6 or 7, 8 guys a game, and they're all playing and gelling very well. So could be a team to watch moving forward here in this bracket the rest of the way. Next team we're going to talk about is Texas Tech, the 3 seed also in the West. They beat UNC Wilmington in the first round and Drake in the second round.
Two dominating wins too. I mean, Texas Tech might be the team to come out of that region. I have them as the team to come out of this region, but man, they look like they're really humming offensively. They had a little bit of a skid there against UNC Wilmington, whatever it is. Texas Tech shot Bryant, if I'm not mistaken, 46 threes against UNC Wilmington. That's an absurd amount of threes. Obviously, that's not the level of success. You're not going to have much success if you're putting up 43, 46 threes. But credit to them, survive and advance. I really think this Texas Tech team, when their offense is humming, is a really, really dangerous team.
I absolutely agree. We saw it earlier in Big 12 play. They gave Houston a run for their money, beat them one time, and almost beat them the second time. So they're definitely a well-rounded, very well coached, highly athletic team. That if they stick within their game plan, their typical way of playing the game of basketball day in and day out, they're going to have a good chance to get out of this region and possibly make a Final Four run. They're definitely primed up for it. And the brackets kind of fell. Yeah, Arkansas we just talked about is pretty good, but you're playing a 10 seed when normally you should be playing a 2. So we'll see what happens. Texas Tech definitely has a good chance of going far. The next team we're going to talk about is Michigan. They beat UC San Diego in the first round and Texas A&M in the second round.
Brian, I still don't really know what to think of this team. I mean, they start 2 7-footers, which obviously interesting play style, but I still don't know about it. Like I'm still not a believer of this Michigan team. I had them losing in the first round, obviously a narrow escape, but I just don't really know what to say about this team other than they better buckle up and play the best game of basketball they have all year, or it's going to get really ugly because this Auburn team is going to run circles around them. I don't know how you can start 2 7-footers against a team like Auburn with that much speed and athleticism on the perimeter. I just don't think it's going to work, but we'll see. Time will tell.
I agree with you. I'm still not totally bought in for this team. I don't know really why. I had them picked to lose in both of my brackets in the first round of San Diego. But credit to them, they've won the Big Ten tournament. They beat a San Diego team that was actually a ranked top 50 team as far as the metrics were concerned, and then beat a really good A&M team with a great coach. So they seem to have something going, and their coach knows how to win in March. So they have that on their side, but they have a tough matchup coming on the Sweet 16, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. Um, Next game we're talking about is Auburn. They beat Alabama State in the first round and Creighton in the second round.
I mean, what is there to say? They're the Auburn Tigers. They've been arguably one of the two best teams, them Duke, whichever one you want to put, the entire season. I don't think they've looked as dominant in this tournament as I really expected them to, but really they cruised to 2 wins. And I think they probably cruised to a third win against Michigan. This team, even when they're not playing their best basketball, like they're not right now, still look unbeatable to me, Brian. I don't know how you beat this team unless they just have a horrendous shooting night. This team is legit. I think, truthfully, I think they can make it to the championship damn near with their eyes closed. I really do.
I definitely agree with you. Something about this team, though, they can look beatable at times, but then another guy steps up, like a Miles Kelly makes three threes in a row, and then he's kind of having an off night. Then Janai Brim, the Player of the Year, steps up, and then maybe he's an off night, and then Baker Mazara steps up. They have so many weapons that I definitely agree with you. You say they look unbeatable when they, aren't playing as their best basketball, and that's totally true. This Auburn team, they were the number one overall seed for a reason. So they definitely have, on cruise control. It seems like right now, and I think they're going to be very difficult to beat moving on in these next few games.
It's going to be really interesting. This Michigan game is going to be extremely interesting to see how Broome plays low post defense against either Golden or Wolf. Obviously, it's probably going to be Golden, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Wolf is more a perimeter guy, but if Broome picks up a couple fouls early, and I'm serious because it's possible, Golden's good enough down in the post that if he beats Broome and Broome fouls a couple times early, I think rebounding could be a huge concern for this Auburn team. That's the only chance I think Michigan has to keep this a game. But if Broome can stay out of foul trouble, I think Auburn runs away with this thing.
Absolutely agree with you. I think the Michigan in this game kind of has to make it like an old school NBA game where they're getting almost all their points in the paint and at the free throw line. But Broome can step out and knock down threes if he wants to. So he's gonna have to maybe stretch the floor a little bit to get open and stay out of foul trouble. But we'll see. It's an intriguing matchup. Next team we're gonna talk about is Purdue Boilermakers. They beat High Point in the first round and McNeese in the second round. Kind of cruise to a Sweet 16 there a little bit.
Yeah, by far the easiest road of any team to make to the Sweet 16. But got to keep in mind this McNeese team beat what we thought was probably the second best team in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
So an easy road, probably, but maybe not. I mean, they look to be able to handle their business against McNeese very comfortably. Obviously, their next matchup is going to be a bit of a different story. I think Houston's game plan is probably to just shut down TKR, Trey Kaufman-Renn, and try to limit Braden Smith. You've got to make somebody else beat you from Purdue besides Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn. It's not going to be Fletcher Loyer. I think Fletcher Loyer is capable of, hanging 15, 20 on someone, but he is not going to beat you. He's not athletic enough to beat you. He can't really dribble the ball. You've got to make someone else beat you besides Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn, and Houston will do that, I think, pretty comfortably.
I definitely agree with you. Like I mentioned, it was a very easy run, but they took care of business when a lot of these teams, especially Clemson, did not. So credit to them. Purdue is a very experienced team, but so is Houston. So I think it's going to be a tough matchup for them in the Sweet 16. So the next team we're going to talk about is Houston. They beat SIUE in the first round and Gonzaga in the second round.
I think behind Duke, this has probably been the most dominant team in this tournament through 2 games. They got matched up with a Gonzaga team who a lot of people were saying was very, very they were seeded improperly. I personally think they were seeded correctly. It's just a really tough second round draw. They handled business. They move on. This team is really, really good.
Absolutely. When you got a guy that's playing like LJ Cryer, who has experience winning a national championship with Baylor, that bodes well for you. Have that leadership and experience. They are just such a well-rounded team and hitting on all cylinders right now. And they beat a very tough Gonzaga team. So it's going to be a tough matchup with Purdue. Kelvin Sampson has his history of kind of losing when they should definitely win in this tournament. So we'll see if that comes back to bite them. But I do not think it does. Next team we're going to talk about is BYU. They beat VCU in the first round and Wisconsin in the second round in a very tight game.
One of the few teams that I actually predicted right to make a Sweet 16 run that wasn't expected. This BYU team can freaking score, Bryant. They can
Mm-hmm.
score with anyone in the country. Richie Saunders, I said it before the tournament. This dude is one of the best offensive players in this tournament. And if you can't slow him down, your life is going to be very difficult stopping this BYU team. They have shooters everywhere. I think they're coached extremely well. I love their play style. They don't miss free throws. I think this team still has more to prove. I think they go, well, I'm not going to spoil it. You know what? I'll spoil it. They are going to give Alabama one hell of a run if they can find a way to stop Mark Sears. But if they can't do that, it's going to get out of hand. I really think they can. It's going to be an awesome game. Probably the game I'm looking most forward to in the Sweet 16.
I definitely agree with you. BYU's been a very good team all season. They beat a bunch of teams in this field in Big 12 play. It just seems like they're one of the teams that's playing their best basketball at the right time. And I definitely agree with you. They can score from every level, especially from the outside though with their guard play and shooting the deep ball in the mid range. If they can continue that and not get up in such an up tempo game with Alabama, I think they have a chance to definitely move on. But great team. I think they fully deserve to be in the Sweet 16 for sure. And I had them going this way too. So we got those two right at least. Next game we're going to talk about is Tennessee Volunteers. They beat Wolford in the first round and UCLA in the second round.
Talk about a cakewalk, man, because UCLA is not a good basketball team. This Tennessee team, they handled business very well. I know there's a lot of people that are extremely high on them. And listen, I am too when they score the ball. But they're so inconsistent offensively. They lean so much. If Chaz Lanier struggles to score, this team struggles to score. And you've got to have another option to go to when Lanier is struggling. I know Ziegler can get you a bucket, but he's not the offensive guy that I want taking your shots. It needs to be Lanier. And when he struggles, the team can't find a way to put the ball in the hoop. It's going to catch up to him, but they handled business so far. I think they probably handle business one more time. And then they find themselves with a matchup probably against Houston, and that's going to be hell.
No, you took the words right out of my mouth. It seems like they're leaning on Chaz Lanier probably more than they should be. Granted, he's come through in the past probably month or so, being one of the better players in the country, in my opinion. They have other players, like you mentioned with Ziegler. I think Jeremiah Meshack can score some big points for him too. But if they stop kind of playing in mud, it seems like at times that could come back to bite them. But they have the talent all over the court and one of the better coaches in this tournament that's left to get them where they want to go. So we'll see what happens. I definitely think they have a chance of going on a decent run into the Final Four. It's a possibility, but tough matchups left in this region.
I have to
Next,
stop you. I have to stop you because you said they have one of the better coaches in this region. Rick Barnes sucks.
he's
Rick
better.
Barnes.
He's decent in the tournament.
Rick Barnes sucks in the tournament. I don't. I
Really,
don't. I don't remember a time when Rick Barnes won a game that I was like, hell yeah, that was a great win in a game that was a winner go home.
you're
Rick
probably
Barnes.
most likely right.
Rick Barnes, to me, is one of the most overhyped coaches in college basketball. I don't like him. A lot of people are going to disagree with that take, but I don't think he ever wins games that are like, damn, that was a really, really good win in March.
Hmm.
They
But
got to test.
sometimes it feels like it's Shaka Smart though. He's not like that. He actually wins the games he's supposed to, but it seems like he loses when he gets in the second weekend.
You're right there. He wins the games he's supposed to. It just seems like the first time they go up against a team that's about equal quality as them, even just a touch worse, touch better, he doesn't find ways to win these games. I feel like Tennessee is in this spot every year. And I
Hmm.
just can't remember a run of Tennessee to like the Elite Eight, Final Four type deal. And they
No, you're
always
right.
have these kind of teams.
Hmm. That's a valid point. We'll see what they can do. Maybe shake up that stigma you have against Rick Barnes this season. Um, Next game we're going to talk about, our next team we're going to talk about is Florida. They beat Norfolk State in the first round and a very tough UConn team in the second round.
I think that Florida UConn game for me has been the game of the tournament. That was entertaining to watch from the opening tip until the buzzer sounded. And this Florida team goes as Walter Clayton goes. And right now, Walter Clayton, I'm going to say it. Walter Clayton's the best player in the country at this point in time. Over that 4 day stretch, Walter Clayton was the most dominant player in college basketball. He's ahead of Cooper Flagg. He's ahead of these guys over that 4 day stretch. I don't think he's better than Cooper Flagg, but he has impacted his team more than anyone in college basketball. They go as he goes, and I said it all year. I think Walter Clayton can be inconsistent, but they can't have an inconsistent game from him the remainder of this tournament.
Absolutely, but he's playing about as good as basketball, like you mentioned, as anybody else in the country. I mean, I saw him hit multiple shots with guys in his face, and it was like a warm up shot for him. He is absolutely on fire right now. Florida does have other weapons, but he's the kind of the gel that holds that team together. If he can keep it going, Florida's going to be a nightmare moving forward. So, like you mentioned, Florida goes as Walter Clayton goes. Next team we're going to talk about is the Duke Blue Devils. They beat Mount St. Mary's in the first round and Baylor in the second round, both in dominant fashion.
I'm going to keep this short, sweet, to the point. This is one of the most dominant Duke teams I've ever watched. Truthfully, like this team against Zion and RJ's team would be so entertaining to watch because I think this team is the most together Duke team I've watched. They're not selfish whatsoever. And obviously, Proctor is 13 for 16 from the 3-point line in this tournament. Let's not overlook what he's done
That
for this
helps.
team. But you have to have a guy, numerous guys around Cooper Flagg that can shoot because he's going to get a load of attention. So if you can surround this guy with good basketball players, which they are much better than good, this Duke team is extraordinarily scary. They deboned a Baylor team that is a damn good basketball team.
Mm-hmm. Beat them by what? 33, 23? It's insane. They got so many weapons on every side on offense and on defense. Like you mentioned, when Cooper Flag gets kind of double teamed, he can just dish it out and it's going to go in the basket. Tyrese Proctor is playing on me, unbelievable, like you mentioned. Duke's is, I think, probably the best team left in this bracket. So we'll see if they can continue to keep playing like that. I think Cooper Flag put the injury questions behind him after playing in that first round. So I think that ship has sailed. Let's see if Duke Blue Devils can control down the stretch. Our next team we're going to talk about is Kentucky. They beat Troy in the first round and Illinois in the second round.
I think if you would have asked Kentucky fans before the season started and said, hey, you're going to make it to the Sweet 16 and then you're going to lose, are you okay with that? I bet you 90% of these teams would have said, I'm cool with it. Yeah, I'm cool with it. It's a great run so far for Kentucky. I didn't think they were going to go on this kind of run in this tournament. I had them as an early exit. Good for them. They look good. I don't think good enough to continue much further.
I agree with you. I actually had Illinois winning that game. I thought Illinois was the better team, but seems like Kentucky's gelling right now with Otega Owe. Brea's playing very well, and all those other guys they have on their starting lineup and coming off the bench have been playing very well in the SEC tournament and into this tournament. So they can keep it rolling. I think they have a chance, but they have a tough matchup ahead of them this next 2 days here in the Sweet 16 to continue their season. So we'll see if they can keep it rolling. Definitely one of the surprises I feel like from my standpoint. Next team we're going to talk about is Alabama. They beat Robert Morris in the first round and St. Mary's in the second round.
I'll keep this one very short, very sweet. Offense, offense, offense. Offense is going to carry this Alabama team. If they can continue to score, they're going to continue to win. But they need to continue to score or they're not going to win. I mean, it's as simple as that. They're not going to win a game in the 70s, in the 60s. This game needs to be in the 80s, 90s for Alabama to win. They've done that so far.
I thought they played better against St. Mary's than they did against Robert Morris, only giving up 66 points. But I definitely agree with you. This team goes as Mark Seegers and Jaden Holloway and all the other players score. And if they score, they're going to be one of the hardest teams to beat in this field. But if they don't, I can definitely see them losing one of this game or maybe the next one after. So we'll see what they can do. Next game is Maryland. They beat Grand Canyon in the first round and had a buzzer beater against Colorado State in the round of 32.
Did he walk, Bryant? Was it a travel?
Do you get to gather stuff in college basketball?
From what I understand, no.
So then, yes, it was a travel
Regardless, hell of a shot, hell of a play by Derek
from
White
a freshman.
for a big man, a freshman to add for a big man to be able to move like that and hit that level of difficulty of a shot with the time running down and the game on the line. Unbelievable shot. I'm still not as big a believer of this Maryland team as everybody else is, but they fit every metric in this tournament. If they got a big test though this weekend, or I should
Hmm.
say this week, we'll see how they look against a team that's far more athletic than they are.
Absolutely. Actually, Maryland was one of my sleeper teams in a bracket that I made. I actually had them in the Final Four. It's gone well so far. I think they're one of the better scoring teams in this field yet, and they can defend. They defended all season. So, yeah, they have a tough test coming up against Florida, but I think they have the chance to win. They played two pretty good teams in the first two rounds, so it being the first two rounds of the bracket. So credit to them for getting it done when they needed to and sneaking one out against Colorado State. We'll see if they can continue. Next team we're talking about is Ole Miss. They beat UNC in the first round and Iowa State in the second round. I think both good wins in my opinion.
Both great wins, and I think Chris Beard is proving everybody. He's proving to everybody how good of a basketball coach he is. I think as far as the two matchups they had, they were better than UNC roster wise, but I think Iowa State is probably a better basketball team than Ole Miss is really on paper, and they handled business easily. I think Chris Beard is one of the most underappreciated coaches in all of college basketball. This team is really humming. It's going to be interesting to see how far they can take this because I don't think they're done yet.
Yeah, they're on a roll right now. Sean Padula is playing outstanding for them. He's been kind of the rock of that basketball team. And they've been leaning on the experience Chris Beard has in this tournament to kind of game plan against the teams they're playing and utilize that in helping them win this Iowa State and UNC. UNC was on a roll, and Iowa State, even though their best player was injured, still a very good team. So credit to Ole Miss. They were one of the better teams in a tough SEC all season, and I think it's showing right now in this tournament. We'll
Hey,
see if they can continue.
I'll keep this statement short and sweet, but we mentioned UNC, so I have to say this. They're freaking lucky they won that play-in game, or I'd be raising a lot of hell about them getting in the field instead of the Hoosiers. That's all I'm going to say. They're lucky they won.
Yeah, they look dominant in that game. Um, the next team we're going to talk about is Michigan State. They beat Bryant in the first round and New Mexico in the second round.
I don't know, Bryant. I'm still not. I'm still not sold on this Michigan State team. I'm really not. I think Izzo's obviously. I don't even have to say this. Izzo is a phenomenal coach. There's no thinking about it. Izzo is one of the best coaches in the history of college basketball. I don't think this team stacks up with Michigan State teams of the past. They can't shoot worth a lick. And to me, they are outmatched every game they play, yet they win. Yet they find a way to win. We'll see what happens, but I just don't see this run for Michigan State lasting much longer. I just don't think their team is that good.
It's a definite possibility. They've been struggling to score lately and kind of all season, but this team is proven they have a bunch of players with a lot of experience and they can defend the basketball as good as any other team in this field that's left. I think they're going to have to lean on that and try to get better offensive scoring from any way they can, get to the line, get better shots on offense. But they're struggling on offense right now, even though they're a two seed. They got to start playing better. But if anybody can get a team playing better, it's Coach Izzo. He's done it multiple times with teams that are probably worse than this team. So we'll see what they can do. Last team we're going to talk about is Arizona. They beat Akron in the first round and Oregon in the second round.
Colin and I were so wrong about this team all year, Bryant. We were so wrong. This team's good. I mean, they are guard heavy. I think they play fairly together when Caleb Love has his mind on straight. Probably the most anticipated moment of the next 2 days is going to be watching Caleb Love play the Duke Blue Devils again in March. I don't know what it's going to end up. I don't know what the outcome's going to end up looking like. I don't know if Caleb Love's going to have a big game or not, but it's definitely going to draw my attention to the TV when Caleb Love steps on the floor in an Arizona uniform against the team that he used to dominate in the Duke Blue Devils. I can't wait for that game.
That's going to be fun to watch. And, I was kind of on the same boat with you guys. This Arizona team, they're so up and down, and Caleb Love is such an up and down player, and I think they go as he goes. And he's been playing well in this tournament for sure, and it's boded well for them winning these first two games. I thought they were going to get blown out by Oregon. I think it was like 24-4 one time, and then they came steamrolling back and picked up the win there. Played great in the second half. I think they scored like 50 points in the second half. They're going to have to keep scoring. They're not the best defensive team, really in this field. I was right with you and Colin. I was not big on Arizona. I actually picked them to lose, in the first or second round in both of my brackets. So this has been a shock, but they're played well and they're most deserving. But they have a big test coming up this week. But Caleb Love knows how to play against Duke, so we'll see if he can continue his old UNC ways and pull one out. So it's going to be a tough game. All right, everybody. So that was the Sweet 16 teams. We kind of went into a little bit in depth of every 16 teams and kind of talked maybe a little bit about how they played in the first two rounds and what they have to do moving forward. But we're going to dive into the matchups. Garrett has his picks. I'm utilizing Colin's picks, so don't come after me. Come after him on the next show. So let's dive into it here. First game we're going to talk about is Auburn at Michigan. Garrett, who do you got in this one?
It's Auburn, and I've kind of already hinted at why I think it's Auburn, but here's the way Michigan can keep this a game, which I've also already hinted at. This has got to be a game played in the post for Michigan. They've got to slow tempo down, play Big Ten style, physical style of basketball to try to slow this Auburn team down. If this game turns into a track meet, Bryant, Michigan has no shot in a track meet against Auburn. Zero, none, absolutely no chance. They have to play through Vlad Golden. They have to play through Danny Wolf, which they're going to have a matchup advantage with one of those. If I'm Michigan, I'm going right at Broom early and often. See how he can handle a really dominant post presence, something the SEC doesn't have a lot of. Really, there's not many teams besides Auburn with a dominant post presence that Michigan can offer in this game. I think it's a really interesting matchup. There's totally two different, completely styles of basketball getting played. I still think Auburn is just too damn good to lose this game. Give me Auburn in a closer game than people expect.
No, I definitely agree with you, and Colin agrees as well. Auburn Tigers over Michigan Wolverines. And you alluded to it a little bit, and I did earlier as well. I think Michigan has to slow this game down for them to win. I think it's whoever team plays to their style of basketball, which I will think will be Auburn. They just have so many weapons, and I think teams will try to do that. But we'll definitely see what Michigan does. I think it's a very good matchup, like you mentioned, but you never know in March. But I think Auburn's going to win this basketball game. Next game we're going to talk about is Old Miss against Michigan State.
Brian, I'm sitting here looking at the pick that I made, and on paper I have Michigan State over Ole Miss. I'm sitting here thinking about it a little bit more. I'm going to take Ole Miss in this game. I have Michigan State written down on my sheet, and I'm going to flip. I think this Michigan State team, like I've already said, I don't think they're that good. I really don't, Brian. I really don't. I think Izzo's a phenomenal coach. I think he is getting every ounce of talent he can out of these guys. But I think Ole Miss and Chris Beard are going to continue this run. I think Chris Beard is going to prove to you guys in this tournament that he needs to be in the conversation of some of the more elite college basketball coaches there are. He's already proven he can take teams on deep runs in this tournament. He did it with Texas Tech. I really think this is a game Ole Miss can, and the more I think about it, should win. So I'm going to take Ole Miss in this one.
Yeah, Colin has Old Miss, and I think I agree too. It seems like they're playing better basketball right now, playing their more of their style of game. Now, this is probably one of the better defensive teams they're going to see or have seen in recent weeks. But I think they have the weapons, especially how Sean Padula has been playing and guiding that team to definitely beat this Michigan State Spartan team. This is going to be a coaching battle. I think both these coaches, like you mentioned, are well versed in how to win in March. I think it's going to be who has the better game plan. But I think I'm going to roll with Old Miss along with you and Colin. So, going to be a fun game to watch. I think this is right up there with one of the better games of the weekend. So we'll see what happens in this one. Next game we're going to talk about. Go ahead, Colin
I'm gonna,
or Garrett.
I'm gonna say one thing, and you said it really well. This is going to be a coaching battle, and I'm sitting here looking at the 16 teams we just discussed.
Hmm.
Bryant, there isn't really maybe one or two teams on this list of 16 teams who does not have a coach that I would not trust to run my basketball team. All 16 of these coaches have proven to be in the top 20 of their caliber of coaching. I mean, every coach on these teams have very proven track records, and it goes to show in this tournament what wins is coaching and guard play, something that all these teams have in common.
Mhm. Absolutely agree. I mentioned it was kind of a coaching battle in this game for sure, but it's going to be in every game. I just feel like more in this game because of how Michigan State plays or basketball versus how Ole Miss plays. So we'll definitely see what goes on in this game. The next game we're going to go to is Florida against Maryland, another highly touted matchup here this weekend.
And another Big Ten SEC matchup. Maryland
Mhm.
has to do the same thing that Michigan does. Try to slow the pace down in this game. Pace of play is going to be a big factor in a lot of these matchups. You have very contrasting styles of play in a lot of these Sweet 16 matchups. If this turns to a track meet, just like the Auburn game, if this turns to a track meet, Florida's going to run circles around Maryland. But
Mhm.
Maryland starts two bigs. Can they establish a post presence against Florida early in this game? Derek Queen is going to be a very, very key factor in this game. If he continues to play like he has, this Maryland team's different, right? This team's different if Derek Queen is playing this caliber of basketball, which he has over the course of the year. And I haven't given him enough credit. They look really good, but I still think Florida is too much. I think Walter Clayton is probably the number one point guard in all of college basketball. And I think the supporting cast around him is more than Maryland can handle.
I'm right there with you, and Colin is as well. Florida over Maryland from both of us. I think this game goes as the best players go. We talked about it earlier. Walter Clayton, I think, is one of the better players in this bracket that's left, and he's playing at an elite level right now. So if he's scoring like he has been, and with the other players on that starting lineup and coming off the bench, I agree with you. I think that's going to be too much for Maryland to handle. But if Queen in the middle and the supporting cast he has around him can play and slow the game down, like you mentioned, Maryland has a shot in this game. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going Florida. Next game we're going to talk about is Texas Tech over Arkansas, or Texas Tech against Arkansas, excuse me.
Oh my God. Brian, it's another game. I have Texas Tech written down on my sheet, and I think I'm going to flip my opinion to Arkansas. Calipari has gotten nothing but criticism the entire season at Arkansas and his final 2 or 3 years at Kentucky. No positive signs, no positive words toward John Calipari. I think this is the year. This is finally a team that he has that there aren't these super high expectations. They've already exceeded expectations in this tournament. Now just go out there and play freely. I think Arkansas, now granted, I love this Texas Tech team. I have them in my Final Four. But I think this Arkansas team, with their guard depth, especially if Taro is healthy, that's
Mhm.
another complete game changer. But the way that Boogie Fland and John L. Davis and DJ Wagner and this whole team of guards are finally clicking. We've waited the entire season for these guards to click. They look awesome. Maybe this is the Calipari team that finally gets him back into that Final Four conversation. It's going to be an awesome game. I mean, tune in. If you're going to watch any of them, probably this one, Duke, Arizona. Those are the two games that I am most excited to watch. I'm going to take Arkansas in this one just because for the first time in years, I'm rooting for John Calipari.
Colin has the hardest one to pick for him was this game. I think I agree with that statement. I'm going to go Arkansas. He's got Texas Tech, so we'll see if they can win for his pick. But I agree with you. I think Arkansas is playing better team basketball right now. And if you think about it, they're low key kind of loaded. Honestly, they got players all over the court. You mentioned a few of them, and I mentioned earlier Jonas Adu has been playing much better as of late, and Trevon Brazile has been stepping up as well. If they can keep this going, they've looked pretty good in the first two games, and they honestly won in pretty convincing fashion. So I'm going to go with Arkansas too. I agree with you on the Calipari front. I do not like him for a multitude of reasons, but he has taken a lot of crap for what also seems like no reason. So credit to him for stepping into year one here in Fayetteville, getting a bunch of dudes that can play basketball and showing out. So I'm going to go with Arkansas. Colin's got Texas Tech. We'll see what happens in there. It's going to be a fun game. Next, we got Duke against Arizona. So, Garrett, what do you think about this
Duke. And I just want to turn it over to you at that point. But I will touch on just kind of the importance of this game, not only for Duke, but for, I'm not even going to say Arizona. I'm going to say for Caleb Love. This could very well be the last college basketball. I think it actually, this is Caleb Love's final season. There's no
Yep.
shot he has any more eligibility. This dude's been in college longer than anyone I can remember. This could very well be the last game Caleb Love plays in college basketball. There's no way he's going to allow it to be a loss to Duke. But I just don't think the Arizona team can match up with this Duke team. I mean, Bryant, we've talked about Cooper Flagg and we've talked about how incredible Proctor has been in this tournament. Colin
Hmm.
Knipple hasn't had to do hardly
I
anything
was going to mention him.
in these first two games. He hasn't had to do anything. And this team is blowing people out. Obviously, they have a 16 seed in game one, but they blow Baylor out of the water. And Knipple didn't hardly do anything. This team is so deep. They're so together. I love what John Shire's done. He's made his own imprint on this team. This is definitely not a Coach K coach team. I mean, John Shire has his own coaching strategy, and it's freaking fun to watch, man. Offensively and defensively, this team clicks on all cylinders. Duke is by far and away my national champion. I think Auburn's a close second, but I can't say enough good things about this Duke team. And I want to make it clear, I don't even like the Duke Blue Devils. I promise you I don't. I do nothing but compliment them on the show, but it's because they're that good.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think that's it's I think they win this game and Colin has that same pick. They're just absolutely stacked on every front, playing great basketball. I think the only way that Arizona has a chance if Caleb Love absolutely goes off, which is a definite possibility. I feel like he's going to shoot 40 times this game and try to put the team on his back. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a great game to watch. One I'm looking forward to, and I know you are, like you mentioned earlier. So everybody's picking Duke. It's going to be a fun game. So we'll see what happens. Next game we have is Alabama against BYU Cougars.
Give me those Cougars one more time, Bryant. I'm a believer in this BYU team. I really am. And it's not so much, I'm not taking BYU so much because of them. I'm taking BYU because even though I was so high on this Alabama team all year, and I'm still high on them, I just worry about them getting defensive stops. They played, obviously, a St. Mary's team who really struggles to score the basketball times. Credit to Alabama for not falling for their trap and playing that slow tempo type game. But let's not forget Robert Morris gave this team a scare. I think Robert Morris had the lead with like 5 minutes to go in this game. And it was because
Yeah.
Alabama couldn't find a defensive stop. They're now playing one of the hottest offensive teams in all of college basketball. They need to try to keep this game under 100 because I don't know if they can keep up with this BYU offense the way they're humming.
Mm. Colin has Alabama in this game. He's got the second hardest pick for him. I'm going to go with Alabama too. And my point on this game is I feel like this is one of the only games in the Sweet 16 where both teams play the similar style of basketball. And I feel like that's when Alabama thrives is when they're up tempo. Both teams are running and gunning. Now this game might be 100 to 98, but that's the game Alabama wants to play. And I think it's going to come down to can they get those defensive stops, like you mentioned. They have had some good showings on the defensive side, but they've been so spread out that it's way too consistent to count on. So I'm going to go with Alabama. That's truly a gut pick for me. I think they're the better, more well-rounded, stacked team. I don't think they're playing better than BYU right now, but this is a team that loves to run up and down, like I mentioned. This is going to happen, I feel like, in this game. So I think they're going to pull through.
Yeah, and I know I've just spent that whole segment talking about their defensive struggles. I understand they held St. Mary's to 66 points, but you have to also understand St. Mary's is quite possibly the slowest paced tempo team in all of college basketball. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they want to win games 66 to 62. So holding
Yes.
St. Mary's team to 66, good job, but that's also the style of play St. Mary's runs. They don't know how to speed tempo up. The
Hmm.
one edge Alabama has in this game, obviously, probably athleticism, but Nate Oates is the
Hmm.
difference maker for this Alabama team. He is still, in my opinion, one of the top three coaches in all of college basketball. I will never doubt Nate Oates. I just doubt the defensive effort of these kids.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree from that standpoint, but I do think Alabama has the best player on the floor in this game with Mark Sears. So we'll
I
see.
don't know about that. Richie Saunders is nice.
Richie Saunders is good, but Mark Sears has played in these games. He's gonna have these guys ready along with his coach and Nate Oates. It's gonna be this is I think this is my favorite game to look forward to in the Sweet 16. I think it's gonna be an absolute barn burner, fun one to watch. Everybody tune in. All right, we got two more games to talk about. The second to last one here is Houston against the Purdue Boilermakers.
I just think the Houston defensive pressure is going to be too much for Purdue to handle. I think if I know a coaching style to beat Purdue, I'd have to believe that Kelvin Sampson does as well. And the coaching strategy, I've already alluded in it earlier. You need to stop Braden Smith, not stop him, but contain him and shut down Trey Kaufman-Renn. You stop those two guys, Purdue has very, very little offensive help outside of those two. I mean, I don't know what percentage of points those two score of the Purdue points scored in this tournament, but it's a lot, Bryant. I mean, these two what makes Purdue go. They're two outstanding basketball players. I think Braden Smith is one of the best point guards in the country. I think Kaufman-Renn, although I think he might be a little overrated because he can't shoot anything beyond 3 or 4 foot, he's still a really good post presence. But Houston's good enough defensively that they will absolutely shut those two down and make life very, 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 very tough for this Purdue team. So give me Houston.
Yeah, Garrett or Colin has Houston. I also have them in this game. I think Kelvin Sampson's going to get his guys to lock in on Braden Smith and what was his name again? The big guy in the middle.
Great Kaufman
Uh,
Red.
Coffin Ren, yes. They're going to lock down him and make other guys beat him. Now, Fletcher Lawyer can have a game, but I think you mentioned earlier, he's not going to go out, I don't think, and drop 25, 30 points in this game and get him over the edge. He could. I think that's the only way that they have a possible chance of winning this game is if the other players step up. But I don't see it happening here. Houston's is too good and well rounded. And LJ Cryer is playing out of his mind right now. So, and he has experience in this tournament as well. So I'm going to go Houston along with Colin. We all going with Houston. It's going to be a fun game, but I think this is where the Purdue season ends.
I think there's quite a bit of pressure on this Houston team to win this game. You know, they feels like
True.
it's been a one seed in like 3 or 4 straight tournaments, and
Hmm.
they really haven't hit that point where it's like, damn, Houston finally made it. Like this is probably one of the better teams that Kelvin Sampson has coached. This team needs to make a deeper run than a Sweet 16 run. I really think for it to be a successful season for Houston, they need to make a Final Four.
I agree. And I mentioned earlier, Kelvin Sampson's teams have been notorious for falling apart in the second weekend. We'll see if this team can get over the hump. I think they can. But I agree that the pressure is all on Houston, in my opinion, to win this game. I think that's going to bode well for Purdue kind of playing free. But like I said, I think Houston's going to take away all their playmakers and take care of business in this game. Last game we're going to talk about is the SEC matchup Tennessee against Kentucky.
Brian, I don't know. I really don't. If Chaz Lanier plays good basketball, they're going to win handily. If Chaz Lanier
Mhm.
struggles, if he has one of those 3 for 16 type games, they're going to lose. That's just the way the Tennessee Volunteers play basketball this year. I'm going to trust in this Kentucky defensive team. Trust that they're going to find a way to stop Chaz Lanier. This Kentucky team does not play fantastic defense, although they made a pretty explosive Illinois team look awfully bad. I'm going to take Kentucky to win another one. I think Coach Cal at Arkansas is going to find another win, and I think the Coach Cal-less Kentucky Wildcats find another win. Wouldn't that be a hell of a championship?
That would be awesome. That'd be must-watch TV. Um, Colin's got Tennessee, and I think I'm going to go with Tennessee too, but I think it's going to be a close game. You mentioned Chaz Lanier. I definitely am with you on that point. I think this team kind of rides with him and how he plays. But I think it's the same on the Kentucky side. Otega Owe has been playing really well for them the past 3 or 4 games, and he's kind of been the rock for them. So it seems like if he plays well, they play well and win. And on the flip side, if Chaz Lanier plays well, Tennessee wins. Both teams, I don't think, are playing at their peak right now, so this will be an intriguing matchup. But I'm going to go Tennessee, and Colin does as well. I think it's going to be a tight game, like I mentioned. It's going to be fun. So that's all the Sweet 16 games that we have, and we made our picks. Agree or disagree with each other. Let's just do a quick shooter and who we think's going to make the Final Four.
Ooh, man. Um, I'm going to try really hard not to be ultra chalky. I got to look at who I have my matchups here. I think Auburn and Duke are locks. I think those are absolute bona fide locks. I mean, if that's not your championship game, I don't know what's going to be because I don't know who's beating those two. Give me Arkansas to make a run to the Final Four. I think this team is hitting on all cylinders right now. I would love to see Coach Cal take this team to the Final Four in his first year, really just to kind of slap in the face to these Kentucky fans who
Mhm.
essentially ran him out of Lexington. I mean, I want to see him succeed more now than ever. And I think I just got to go Houston. I know that's 3-1 seeds in the Final Four, but I think those 3-1 seeds have proven really the entire season that they are the three best teams in college basketball. The only reason I don't have Florida in there is because I worry about the inconsistency that Walter Clayton has shown throughout the course of this season. That's the only reason I don't have Florida in there.
Mhm. I don't have personally have any picks, but I'm going to roll with what Colin has written down here for us for his picks. The only one he has that you also have is Auburn. I think I agree there. I think they're probably one of the most well-rounded teams in this field, other than Duke. I think they make it. Texas Tech he has in the Final Four. He has them probably beating Florida. So we'll see. That's like you mentioned, Walter Clayton's playing good. It's going to be a tough game for them. But I think you mentioned earlier in the show and all season, Texas Tech can get there if they play like they can. So I don't think that's a bad pick. He has Alabama in the Final Four. He believes in them. They're going to probably have to beat Houston, and they have a tough matchup against BYU in the Sweet 16. So that's going to be a tough road for Alabama. But they made it last year, and they were probably better than they were last season. So and then the last team he has is Tennessee. So we're rolling heavy on the SEC in the Final Four from Colin. Tennessee is probably a team I wouldn't agree on, but we'll shall see. I
I'll
don't
tell
get Alabama beating Duke either.
I'm going to have a talk with him about those final four selections because I disagree with three of those really, and I would have some pretty strong arguments against all three of them.
Absolutely.
I will save that argument for Colin.
We'll see how they pan out, and you can bicker with him on the Final Four and championship show we have here coming up soon next week. Garrett, is there anything else you have to add from our picks and then going over the upsets from the first two rounds?
No, Brian, I don't think so. Just find your butt on a couch Thursday through Sunday again because it's going to be awesome, man. This tournament's a blast. I've had a blast covering it with both you and Colin. Find the remote, find the couch, and enjoy some more basketball. Time is running low on it.
I absolutely agree. Everybody loves the first weekend. Obviously, everybody just wants to see the upsets. But I feel like maybe deep down, this is probably the better 4 days of the tournament, in my opinion, because you have the teams that are playing better basketball, have won a couple games in the tournament, playing against each other. It's going to be fun to watch. There is numerous matchups that we mentioned here that are must-see television, in my opinion. So it's going to be a fun weekend. I can't wait for it. I think that wraps up our show here. I want to thank everybody for listening. Deep Threat Sports Network. We're all over all social medias: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify to listen. It's been fun helping you on this, Garrett. I watch as much basketball as you and Colin do, so it's been good to talk. Looking forward to a fun weekend. Thanks everybody for listening. Until next time, we'll see you later.
So yeah, I got one thing to add before we
Yeah.
stop the show. One thing
Okay.
I want to welcome a big round of applause to Darian DeVree being the new head coach of my Indiana Hoosiers. We'll talk on that later. Thanks for tuning in.